Le strategie americane e occidentali sono fallite nella regione. Per quale ragione?
Well, I think the biggest and the simplest answer is Iraq. The Bush administration had committed itself to rebuild Afghanistan, to make peace between Afghanistan and the neighboring countries. And instead, within weeks, we saw that within weeks of 9/11, the Bush administration was sending forces to be retrained for Iraq. And Iraq then took up all the diplomatic energy, the development money, the troops of the Western Alliance. I think the most important new development is that President-elect Obama has talked about Afghanistan, Pakistan as being the central focus of his foreign policy initially. He wants to send more troops to Afghanistan. He wants the Europeans to send more troops. But he wants also, I think, a comprehensive strategy that is not just a surge in troops, but a surge in development, in reconstruction, in talking to the neighboring countries, in building up the Afghan army and the police, in building up the infrastructure. And I think, that is what is needed. What is needed is a focus on Afghanistan and Pakistan by the international community.
Che ruolo può rivestire il Pakistan, il grande paese dell'area, dopo che Musharraf ha perso il potere? Quali sono i problemi del Pakistan?
Well, I think there are three major problems we face in Pakistan. The first is the very long-standing problem of military power versus civilian rule. The military has never allowed democracy to strengthen in Pakistan. So there is a tension at the moment between the civilian government and the military. The military continue to control foreign policy towards India, towards Afghanistan. The military controls the nuclear program. That's the first problem. The second, of course, is that Pakistan is now itself threatened by extremists, by what we call the Pakistani Taliban. They are they have an agenda to split Pakistan, to create an Islamic state in the north of the country, and they are being able to launch suicide attacks in all the cities of Pakistan. The third problem is the economic crisis. There's a huge economic crisis in the country, and it seems at the moment that the international community is not really giving the kind of support that the civilian government needs to get out of the economic mess.
L'influenza talebana nell'area sta crescendo negli ultimi anni, ma la loro ideologia è la stessa del 2001 o è cambiata in alcuni aspetti?
The Taliban today have ceased to be purely an Afghan phenomenon. They are today a regional phenomenon. Today we have Pakistani Taliban, we have Afghan Taliban, we have Central Asian Taliban. They all have their own agendas, but they have separate agendas for their respective countries and regions. But they are also cooperating and coordinating very closely with each other. So, for example, the Pakistani Taliban fight in Afghanistan and the Afghan Taliban fight in Pakistan. As far as their ideology is concerned, they have separate agendas, but the leadership of all these Taliban are very closely linked to Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda is playing a coordinating role, a superstructural role, which is coordinating the military strategy, the political strategy of all these groups. Because it's in the interests of Al-Qaeda to be able to rebuild safe areas where Al-Qaeda can recruit and train terrorists from around the world.
La presenza italiana in Afghanistan è adesso concentrata nella parte occidentale del paese. Che cosa può fare l'Italia nel prossimo futuro?
First of all, I think the Obama administration is going to be asking the Europeans for more troops. NATO will be asked for more troops. I think it will be very difficult for any European country, including the Italian government, to say no to Obama right at the beginning of his office, because the Italians will want to have good relations with him. But of course, there is a lot of domestic opposition to sending more troops to Afghanistan. So I think one of the solutions should be that the Italian troops who are already there, over 2,000 troops, they're operating under very severe restrictions. They cannot enter combat. They can't go on the offensive. And that's why their effectiveness in Western Afghanistan is much less. Unfortunately, they are not able to pacify and to consolidate peace and stability in the whole province of Herat and in the western region, because they are not basically allowed to combat the Taliban. So I think what we need to do, what the Italians need to do, is to have a more aggressive military posture, which is able to secure peace for the people so that development can take place. At the moment, what we're seeing is that the Italian troops are largely restricted to their camps, to the big cities. They're not being able to control the countryside, which is being controlled by the Taliban.